up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwanese prosecutors have raided the homes of former TSMC executive Laurel and frozen some of his assets as they probe possible leaks of cutting-edge chip technology to his current employer, US chip giant Intel. Investigators say they are treating it as a potential national security and trade secrets case. But there are still no charges and no arrest warrant for Law or for Intel. Our reporter Chris Gorin has been following the story and joins us live from Taipei. Chris, what do we know about these raids and how far along is the investigation?
Well, the key point here is, Laurel, that investigators have moved very hard on evidence and on money, but not yet on arrests. Here's what we know so far. Investigators confirmed on Thursday that they had raided Lowell's homes in Taipei and in Hsinchu. They seized computers, USB drives, and other electronic devices. And a court also approved freezing Lowell's financial assets in Taiwan, like stocks and real estate, assets that are likely worth millions of US dollars. Now, the motivation behind the seizures isn't just about collecting evidence, but it's also about leverage to compel Lowell to come back to Taiwan during the investigation. He's currently believed to be in the United States, and he is a U.S. citizen, which could create further complications. Now, Taiwan's economy minister spoke a little bit about these issues while talking to reporters on Thursday.
我们还是会密切观察整个这个半导体的生态系的一些影响。那初步看起来，我们还是觉得一个人可能造成的损害。 可能还是有限，但是这个还是要密切观察。现在还没有办法马上可以做判断，这就要司法来看了。因为除了人身之外，还有一些财产的问题啊。他在台湾应该还有一些财产的问题。
Now, to be clear, neither Luo nor anyone else has been formally charged in this case, and it remains in the investigation stage. Intel, for its part, is standing behind Luo, saying that the allegations against him lack merit and that they strictly prohibit any transfer of confidential information.
So, Chris, these are currently only unproven allegations against Luo. But if true, what would that mean for TSMC and the chip industry as a whole?
Well, keep in mind exactly what Luo has been accused of here. TSMC says that there is a high likelihood that he could use or transfer information about its most advanced nodes, its most advanced chip nodes like 2 nanometer, A16, A14, to a foreign competitor. And these aren't just model numbers. These are the most advanced chip processes in the world, the crown jewels of the semiconductor industry. And that's why this case has criminal, civil, and national security sides to it. These technologies are considered a key core national technology of Taiwan, and so they're subject to national security laws. Civilly, TSMC says that Luo violated a non-compete clause in his contract when he went to Intel and that he had not informed the company that he planned to make that move when he left TSMC. And it also comes as the United States is attempting to really bolster its domestic chip industry. And keep in mind, Intel, it's not just any company, right? I mean, the US government is actually a part owner of Intel. Despite that, in Taiwan, there's already been a lot of discussion about potential brain drain of Taiwanese engineers to US chip makers. Earlier this week, it was reported that Washington may be asking Taiwan for it to train US chip engineers as part of a trade deal to lower Taiwan's tariffs. So the big question for Taiwan now is, does this case remain focused on a single executive, or does it become a bigger test for how the country protects its most advanced technologies when talent moves to rival companies, especially those overseas? Laurel?
Thanks, Chris. Our correspondent Chris Gorin there in Taipei. The debate over Taiwan's record-breaking special defense budget continues, with the opposition calling for more details on how the money will be used. Alan Liu reports.
Here in the legislature, a $40 billion special defense budget is under review. Premier Zhou Rongtai is calling for support, saying strong defenses are essential to maintaining peace. But opposition parties are still strongly criticizing the plan. Taiwan's cabinet approved the proposed budget on Thursday, shortly after it was unveiled by President Lai Ching-te. The Defense Ministry says the hike in spending comes as China ramps up military activity around Taiwan, which it claims as its territory. Defense Minister Wellington Gu says the budget will be spent on military equipment from abroad and domestic weapons production.
已经跟美国完成初步的协调，获得美国国防部安全合作局正式提供采购的项量、报价资料以及交易的期程等等的资讯，来说明美方确实是有供售的意愿。
The spending plan is meeting resistance. Taiwan's main opposition party, the Kuomintang, focused on the remark President Lai made during the rollout speech.
北京当局也以2027年完成武统台湾为目标，加速侵略台湾的军事准备，持续升高在台湾周边的演习及飞弹侵扰。
Opposition lawmakers questioned why, given this timeline, the proposed defense budget stretches all the way to 2033, if the threat is that imminent.
如果今天我们总统府、我们相关的国安单位的确获得了相关的情资，认为2027年中共会武力反台，那2026年明年开始，是不是大家就要开始进入备战状态？
The smaller opposition Taiwan People's Party called Lai's statements a fear-mongering tactic and questioned the U.S. track record of delayed arms deliveries.
里面包括有2000多亿的买66架的 F-16V， 请赶快送到台湾，到目前一架都还没有来。
Although Taiwan is looking to purchase big-ticket items like American fighter jets, much of the budget will be spent on domestic industries, producing things like drones and missile defense. With the legislature set to review the budget, there are now calls for President Lai Ching-te to appear before lawmakers and explain directly how the money will be used. Fu Hua-hong and Ellen Lu in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Tokyo is denying a Wall Street Journal claim that US President Donald Trump advised Japan's Prime Minister not to provoke China over Taiwan. Citing US and Japanese officials, the paper said Trump asked Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai to moderate her stance on Taiwan and its sovereignty. The report comes after a weeks-long rift between Beijing and Tokyo, triggered after Takaichi said hostile Chinese action or coercion of Taiwan would be seen as a threat to Japan's survival. Japan's chief cabinet secretary dismissed the report, saying there was, quote, no such fact regarding Trump's alleged advice. Tokyo has filed a complaint with the journal, but has not asked for a retraction. Vice President Bi-khim Hsiao has met with a delegation from Panama, urging stronger cooperation despite pressure from Beijing. This is the first delegation from Panama to visit Taiwan since the two countries cut ties in 2017, when Panama switched diplomatic recognition to Beijing. The delegation was led by Panama's co-chairs of the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China. Beijing had ordered the delegation not to go, and Panama's president said it was not an approved trip. They also met with Foreign Minister Lin Jialong, who expressed hopes for the country to restart their partnership. They discussed economic cooperation and their key roles as regional transit hubs. A China-born woman who once almost became a legislative candidate for the Taiwan People's Party has been detained on suspicion of China-backed election interference. Prosecutors say Xu Chunying, who has lived in Taiwan for 30 years, took money from China to help then TPP chair Ko Wen-je's 2024 presidential campaign. They say she also supported an independent politician's run for Taipei mayor in 2022. Neither candidates won, but they did split a vote in highly contentious elections. Xu is also facing investigation for illegally transferring money between China and Taiwan and defrauding banks. The TPP says it doesn't know the reasons for Xu's detention and urged prosecutors to follow due process. Hong Kong's deadliest fire in decades is now under control, according to local authorities. But for affected residents, the road to recovery will be long, and difficult questions remain. Leslie Liao reports.
At least 94 dead, with hundreds of others injured or missing. A deadly apartment fire in Hong Kong, which started on Wednesday, is finally brought under control.
Our firefighting operation is almost complete. What's next is the search and rescue operation.
The fire burned through a multi-building public housing complex called Wong Fuk Court within hours. At the time, the residential high-rises were undergoing massive renovations. The buildings were covered in bamboo scaffolding and a layer of green netting material. Authorities suspect that these materials did not meet safety standards, which contributed to the fire's rapid spread. Authorities are looking to hold people accountable, with police having already made arrests.
Police arrested 3 men around their 50s at midnight, who are the company executives in charge of the renovation at Wong Fuk Court. They are being detained at the moment. Police went to their office to collect evidence and conduct investigation.
The suspects are all being investigated for manslaughter. At the same time, city officials announced they are stepping in to help affected households.
In order to provide immediate help to the affected residents, we will start to distribute an emergency fund of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars to every housing unit.
But the money may only be a short-term fix for a long-term problem. Hong Kong's deadliest fire in decades has not only claimed lives, but also livelihoods. Hundreds of people evacuated to temporary shelters, including people from surrounding buildings. But Wong Fuk Court, a low-cost public housing complex, is home to an estimated 4,500 people. For them, the big question is, where do they go from here?
This morning, I came here to register to pick up pharmaceutical drugs and deal with some other stuff.
Hong Kong's housing prices consistently rank among the world's highest. For many of Wong Fuk Court's residents, finding a place to live will prove challenging. While the fire has been brought under control, questions about Hong Kong's construction practices and housing policies will continue to burn. Klein Wong and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwanese man has been released after being taken away at the Abu Dhabi airport on Monday. Mr. Chen was on a Middle East tour and was transiting in Abu Dhabi when he was suddenly apprehended by armed men. He was later found to be in custody at a Dubai police station. Chen's wife confirmed he was safe and said his phone had been confiscated. Taiwan's foreign ministry says Chen has been released and will be able to leave the United Arab Emirates next week. The exact reasons for his arrest are still under investigation. The Finance Ministry has slapped anti-dumping duties on Chinese steel and beer products, maxing out at nearly 52%. Some imported beers in Taiwan, like Bud Heavy, are brewed in China. They will now be subject to duties ranging from just over 19% to nearly 52%. Hot-rolled steel products, a low-cost malleable alloy, will face duties ranging from just over 16% to 20%. Customs officials say the duties will take effect retroactively from July 3rd and remain in place for 5 years. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, Molly the turtle is being released back to the sea after surviving a life-threatening tumour. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care. See you next time.
I'm Tiffany Wong in Georgetown, Penang, and you're watching TaiwanPlus.